The sun had barely risen, casting a soft golden glow over the city streets as I made my way to the main branch of the bank. My footsteps echoed against the pavement, the rhythmic sound a comforting backdrop to the morning rush. I had a simple task at hand, depositing $300 into my account. Pushing open the glass doors of the bank, I stepped into the cool, marble-floored lobby. The air was tinged with the scent of freshly printed money and the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Approaching the counter, I noticed a young man behind it, his hair meticulously combed and his navy blue uniform crisp and neat. His name tag read Charles Clark, teller trainee. "Good morning." I greeted him with a friendly smile, reaching into my pocket to retrieve the cash and deposit slip. Charles glanced up from his paperwork, his expression a mix of boredom and annoyance. "Morning," he muttered, barely acknowledging my presence. Undeterred by his lack of enthusiasm, I slid the money and slip across the counter. "I'd like to deposit this, please." Charles eyed the cash with disdain, his lips curling into a sneer. "You're here to deposit this meager sum," he scoffed, his tone dripping with condescension. I blinked, taken aback by his rudeness. "Yes, that's correct," I replied, trying to maintain my composure. "Why bother wasting my time?" Charles continued, pushing the money back towards me. "Just use the machine over there, it's faster." I frowned, feeling a surge of irritation rise within me. "I prefer to do my transactions with a teller," I stated firmly, pushing the money back towards him. Charles rolled his eyes, clearly annoyed by my insistence. "Suit yourself," he muttered under his breath, snatching the cash and deposit slip from the counter with more force than necessary. As he keyed in the details of my deposit, I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of indignation. How dare he belittle me for the size of my deposit? Wasn't it his job to assist customers, regardless of the amount they were depositing? "You know," Charles began, his tone dripping with sarcasm as he glanced up from his computer screen, "most people use the machine for transactions like this. It's much more efficient." I gritted my teeth, struggling to maintain my composure in the face of his insolence. "I appreciate your suggestion," I replied through clenched teeth, "but I prefer to do my banking in person." Charles scoffed, a derisive smirk playing across his lips. "Suit yourself," he repeated, as if my insistence on using the counter was a personal affront to him. As he handed me my receipt, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that I had stood my ground against his mockery. As I left the bank, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the pit of my stomach. Charles' disrespectful attitude had left a sour taste in my mouth, and I couldn't help but wonder if this was indicative of a larger issue within the bank's customer service culture. Little did I know, this encounter would set into motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to a drastic decision on my part. The encounter with Charles at the bank replayed in my mind as I returned to my office. His disrespectful attitude had left me feeling unsettled, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something needed to be done. Sitting at my desk, I mulled over my options. Closing my corporate account, which held a substantial $3 billion, seemed like the most powerful statement I could make against the bank's poor treatment of its customers. With a deep breath, I picked up the phone and dialed the number for the bank's main branch. "Good afternoon, how may I assist you?" came the voice of the receptionist on the other end. "I'd like to speak with the branch manager, please," I replied, my voice steady despite the nervous fluttering in my stomach. After a brief hold, I was connected with the manager, Mr. Thompson. I wasted no time in explaining the reason for my call, recounting the disrespectful behavior I had experienced at the hands of Charles. Mr. Thompson listened attentively, his tone shifting from polite to concerned as I detailed the encounter. "I'm truly sorry to hear about your experience, Mr. Bennett," he said sincerely. "Rest assured, I will look into this matter personally and ensure that appropriate action is taken." I thanked Mr. Thompson for his understanding before hanging up the phone. Despite his assurances, I knew that simply addressing Charles' behavior wouldn't be enough. It was clear that a more drastic measure was needed to send a message to the bank about their treatment of customers. With a sense of determination, I made the decision to close my corporate account with the bank, a move that would not only sever my ties with them, but also serve as a powerful statement against their poor customer service culture. As I finalized the paperwork for the account closure, I couldn't help but feel a sense of empowerment. By taking this action, I was standing up for what I believed in and sending a clear message that disrespect and mistreatment would not be tolerated. Little did I know, this decision would set into motion a series of events that would ultimately lead to a confrontation with the bank's management and a resolution that would change the course of my banking relationship forever. With my decision to close my corporate account made, I knew that I needed to confront the bank's management about the disrespectful behavior I had experienced. It was time to hold them accountable for their actions and demand the respect that every customer deserved. Stepping into the main branch of the bank once again, I felt a surge of determination coursing through my veins. As I approached the counter, I requested to speak with the branch manager, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson emerged from his office, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "Mr. Bennett, how can I assist you today?" he inquired politely. Taking a deep breath, I recounted the encounter with Charles, detailing his disrespectful behavior and the impact it had on me as a customer. Mr. Thompson listened intently, his brow furrowing with each passing moment. "I'm truly sorry to hear about your experience, Mr. Bennett," he said sincerely. "Rest assured, I will address this matter immediately and ensure that appropriate action is taken." I nodded in appreciation, but I knew that simply addressing Charles' behavior wouldn't be enough. I needed to make it clear that this kind of treatment was unacceptable and would not be tolerated. "Mr. Thompson, with all due respect, I've made the decision to close my corporate account with the bank," I stated firmly. "I cannot in good conscience continue to do business with an institution that condones such disrespectful behavior towards its customers." Mr. Thompson's eyes widened in surprise, his expression shifting from concern to alarm. "Mr. Bennett, please, let's not be hasty," he pleaded. "I assure you, we take customer service very seriously, and I will do everything in my power to rectify this situation." I appreciated Mr. Thompson's sincerity, but I knew that action spoke louder than words. It was time to make a stand and send a clear message that disrespect and mistreatment would not be tolerated, regardless of one's position within the bank. "I appreciate your efforts, Mr. Thompson, but my decision stands," I replied firmly. "I will be closing my account today." With that, I signed the necessary paperwork and handed it over to Mr. Thompson, my heart pounding with a mixture of nerves and resolve. Little did I know, this confrontation would mark the beginning of a journey that would ultimately lead to a resolution that would change the course of my banking relationship forever. As I finalized the closure of my corporate account, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the disrespectful behavior I had encountered than met the eye. It wasn't until later, during the conversation with Mr. Thompson, that I learned the truth behind Charles' demeanor. "Mr. Bennett, I must confess," Mr. Thompson began hesitantly, "Charles is actually the grandson of our CEO." I blinked in surprise, the pieces of the puzzle suddenly falling into place. Charles' entitled attitude and blatant disregard for customer service suddenly made sense. It was clear that his familial connection had granted him a sense of privilege that allowed him to act with impunity. "I see," I replied, my tone neutral despite the surge of anger that pulsed through me. "It seems that nepotism has clouded his judgment and compromised his ability to perform his duties effectively." Mr. Thompson nodded solemnly, his expression reflecting a mixture of regret and frustration. "I'm afraid you're right, Mr. Bennett. I can assure you that we do not condone such behavior within our organization, and I will take steps to address this matter with Charles and his family." As I left the bank, I couldn't help but feel a sense of disillusionment. The realization that the bank's management was willing to turn a blind eye to such behavior, simply because of Charles' familial connection, left a bitter taste in my mouth. Little did I know, this revelation would mark the beginning of a confrontation with the bank's management that would ultimately lead to a resolution that would change the course of my banking relationship forever. With my corporate account closed and the truth behind Charles' behavior revealed, I knew that it was time to move forward and seek closure. But closure wouldn't come easily, as I still harbored a lingering sense of dissatisfaction with the way the bank had handled the situation. Returning to the bank one final time, I found myself face to face with Mr. Thompson once again. Despite the tension that hung in the air between us, there was a sense of mutual understanding as we exchanged greetings. "Mr. Bennett, I trust that you've received the necessary paperwork regarding the closure of your account, Mr. Thompson said, his tone businesslike, but tinged with a hint of regret. Yes, everything is in order, I replied, my voice steady despite the swirl of emotions churning inside me. There was a moment of silence as Mr. Thompson hesitated, clearly searching for the right words to say. I want to apologize once again for the way you were treated by Charles, he said finally. It was completely unacceptable, and I assure you that we are taking steps to address the issue and prevent it from happening again in the future. I nodded in acknowledgement, appreciating Mr. Thompson's sincerity. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I hope that the bank will take this incident as an opportunity to reevaluate its customer service practices and ensure that all customers are treated with the respect and dignity they deserve. Mr. Thompson nodded in agreement, his expression reflecting a sense of determination. Rest assured, Mr. Bennett, we are committed to making things right. Your feedback is invaluable to us, and we will do everything in our power to regain your trust and confidence. With that, I bid farewell to Mr. Thompson and the bank, feeling a sense of closure wash over me as I stepped out into the bright sunlight. Though my journey with the bank had been tumultuous, I knew that it had ultimately led to a resolution that would change the course of my banking relationship forever. As I walked away from the bank, I felt a sense of relief knowing that I had stood up for what I believed in and refused to accept anything less than the respect and dignity I deserved as a customer. Little did I know, this closure would mark the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one filled with newfound empowerment and the knowledge that I had the strength to advocate for myself in any situation.